Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode with Part-Time Gamers. I am your host, Sencard, and I am joined once again with Frosty and Win. How you two doing today?
I am feeling good. We're coming back for a second episode. I can't believe we've made it this far.
I'm so happy. I'm so excited. It's wonderful. I know, right? We're going to keep this going, keep the streak going, keep you all entertained. So we're actually going to jump right in, kind of start this episode off with a little bit of plus talk, or Mythic Plus talk, to pick up from last time what we were discussing about. Since Fated is finally here, we've all gotten a little bit of taste of it. I am going to admit, with all of my diligent duties of a raid leader, I've been so caught up in raiding, I'm actually really excited to listen to Frosty and Win here, because I haven't gotten to get a taste of it, so I figured I can vicariously live through the two of you. So if I recall correctly, Shrouded was the whole Dreadlord thing. As you're going through the dungeon, there's Dreadlords, and I kind of want to just hear, what's it like? I mean, just give me a little taste, give me a little info. How's it going? Do you enjoy it? Is the affix fun? What's your likes, don't likes? Hit me with it. What do you guys got?
I'm sorry to say I don't have too much positive to say about it, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
I think for me personally, Shrouded's a pretty big disappointment. The stat buffs feel almost non-existent when I'm playing. Even I've taken haste, I've tried crit strike, I've tried versatility. And I just don't feel it. Like, even at the end of the dungeon, you're supposed to kind of be in that like super powered godlike state. I don't know. It doesn't feel any different from just playing without any buffs. I'd say and as for the actual Dreadlords, so far, I mean, I've done keys up to 15 so far, so maybe it's not like they're not as impactful yet, but anytime we encounter one, it's just like, oh, there's one of those guys. Okay. Like it's and what's not the gear
dropping at really quick for 15 before I forget? If you did a 15, because that was the cap before to like, oh, we need to run a 15 minimum to get the gear. What is it dropping at?
In dungeon, is it 288?
288, is it?
Yeah,
I think.
And
like I said,
vault gear is 304 for a 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Or is
Sorry to
it
interrupt.
290 something? Anyways, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's almost like there isn't an affix, right? Like, and this is something I know a lot of popular streamers that I watched before said emphatically is this buff has to be meaningful enough to make a noticeable difference, or else it's completely meaningless. And like, as survival, I've noticed towards the end, like taking haste, you kind of have enough, but again, you only get like 12 stacks in a dungeon. Like that's like the maximum, and so you're maybe getting like, so what is that? 12 times 3? Yeah, you're 36% haste, which is like.
I mean, by the end, it's noticeable. Like not like crazy noticeable, not like, oh my god,
But not even, right? Like it's, I don't know. It's so disappointing.
When we were talking about this last week, I remember specifically bringing this up and saying, like, I really hope that this is going to have deliverance. We even went down into the whole pit and like of just talking about Prideful and how noticeable that was, and talking about all the Torghast abilities, and like being like, it'd be really like my idea of being like, I wish you could have chosen it, like, certain Torghast abilities, but like even then choosing those, that each one made a difference. Plume of what was that plume of fire where you shoot it up, like there was always these little things, mastery 120 or haste 120 increase or whatever it was, or something insane where like each one you noticed it. It was a noticeable effect. And when we were talking about this, I remember saying, like, you're going to have to get a noticeable amount of stacks in order to feel that effect, feel that this new affix. And I was very curious about it. And in a way, I'm kind of a little satisfied to know that, because we were pretty much in agreement. Like, yeah, they're going to have to give quite a bit of stacks. And watching it and then experiencing is two separate things. Watching, the pros play, it's like, they make it feel noticeable because they notice those effects. But being in there and just being, a part-time gamer, I was curious if you would notice the effects. So it's kind of interesting to hear that. I mean, from the both of you saying that and hearing that, it doesn't discourage me, but it does prepare me for when I step in there not to feel like, you know what I'm saying? To be like, think, oh, okay.
Like versatility was lined up to be kind of really good. And in a way that seemed to be unbalanced maybe, which is why they nerfed it from 2% down to 1. But you know, so instead of having this really awesome thing you could pick for the dungeon, now you just kind of, it really doesn't matter what you take because the effects are marginal.
Yeah. No, I got you. All right. So right off the bat, for everybody's knowledge now, it sounds like, okay, this affix really isn't kicking. I'm hoping that they up it. Maybe they add a little bit more, or add more of an effect. Do you think that they're going to? I mean, has this been something?
Or add more dreadlords. Like, add more opportunities to pull more of them. Like they're just spread one by one. In some dungeons, like the Gorgrond, what expansion is that from? Warlords?
Yeah, Warlords.
Those ones are super streamlined, right?
Yeah,
you have a
depot.
you have
pull the whole
one
dungeon.
track. Yeah. And other ones like streets, you have the opportunity to maybe go around and pull a few more, but some of them are really out of the way. Like Karazhan, a lot of them are super out of the way. And even then you can only really pull one, maybe two at a time. I'd like the opportunity to like pull a whole pack of them. Like if you want to take on something that's going to give you a nasty frontal and have like 8 of them at a time, but then you get 8 stacks, like we should have that opportunity to be able to do that, right?
Do you think it should be more ads or just more stacks and make
I think more ads.
ad more powerful? Yeah,
because like Frosty was saying, it's nothing. Like those ads are not. And yeah, okay, I'm the same. The max I've done, I think, is a 16. But for our gear level, I think it's fairly, relative, right? Once we're fully geared and doing like 18s, 19s, 20s, it's going to be, you don't notice it as an affix.
Gotcha. All right. So with that being said, now that we got a little bit of a taste of the whole Dreadlords, and it seems like, as you were saying, they need to make an adjustment. And you know what, though? I'm glad because that pre-prediction that we had was accurate. What about the dungeons themselves, the new ones? Grimrail Depot and what's the other one? Oh, my God.
Iron Docks.
Iron Docks, yeah. How you guys enjoying those? I remember Grimrail Depot. That one was... I enjoyed it when I did it. What was that one boss?
The last boss?
Flies around the side. Yeah, the one that's...
Skylord or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I was curious. How is that on
I spent...
a 15 or higher?
Okay, so Chippy, Dream Cell, and I... Wait, that's only 4 of us. Who else was in there? I think we had a... Who?
Did you pug?
Oh, and Elm. Elm came in it with us.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Elm. Go on.
It was only like was that a 12 or 13? But it was last week, so it was on Tyrannical. Oh, it was a 15.
Oh, there you go.
Apparently it was a 15, I'm being told.
Okay.
Yeah, we did really good up until that last boss. Like, we were going to probably, like, 2-chest it, and then that last boss wrecked us. And by wrecked us, I mean 140 deaths. I mean, like, and
God.
more than an hour over timer.
Man, the rage is real.
I don't think it was as hard as we felt it was, because, forgive me, Chippy, but you were super fucking high. And you were healing. And it was not a good combination.
If he's listening right now.
Well, he might be high while he's listening, too. So.
I don't remember any of that. No, of course
so have you run all of them, Frosty? Did you run them all on Tyrannical?
Oh, my God. I didn't run all of them yet. I still haven't done an Iron Docks, but I did do Grimrail. That last boss was interesting. I'll say, though, the one that actually messed me up on that one was the second boss, the one that gets into his cannon and starts shooting things at you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear God.
There's the one mechanic where it sort of targets one player and lobs a bunch of cannonballs at you. And I made what I thought was the reasonable assumption of, if I LOS this, it can't hit me. And I LOS'd it, and then I died. So I was like, oh.
Well, there's
Pro player moves.
The pillars provide LOS, but the boxes don't.
But the giant train cars don't provide LOS,
No.
even though I can't target through them, but the cannon can.
Exactly.
So,
You know,
that
people
was
are probably
learning.
listening right now and going, I feel your pain. Feel your pain, Frosty. I made the same mistake.
The other pugs in my group also did the same thing. They all died to that mechanic, and the one person who had done it before was like, no, guys, just let me get in the turrets. I'll take care of it. Just don't die. So.
You're like, well, now we know.
Well, that's the
That was
thing on that
interesting.
boss, right? It's like, it's all about that turret damage, right? You just want to pick up those like bombs and what are they that you pick up? You hop in the turret and you
and you
do
just
like
fire.
40k damage. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one where you're not actually like trying to hit the boss directly. I did feel, actually, I was wondering if you feel the same way, where like these dungeons, the new ones, feel like they're a lot more, like the boss fights feel like you move a lot more than in the Shadowlands ones, and even in some of the BFA ones. Like Mechagon, you end up moving quite a bit in the last boss fight. This Grimrail Depot, you move quite a bit. Upper Karazhan, you move quite a bit. Like just in the boss fights alone, there's a lot more movement.
What was the other affix besides Tyrannical too, if you don't mind me asking? Because as I said, I didn't run
Quaking
it.
and Inspired
okay.
was last week.
Okay.
And so yeah, Grimrail with Quaking, not cool.
Yep.
Oh, that was bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, even worse this week with Sanguine. Like, you have nowhere to go with the Sanguine.
Oh man. All right. Well, Jesus.
But so and did you try Karazhan last week?
Yeah, the upper only. I didn't get to do lower, but that was a new one.
Man, it was ridiculous. Like easily two chesting a 15 on like streets, right? Tazvesh, yes, dungeons we're familiar with and we know, but like just the tuning difference between Tazvesh and Karazhan was like that gulf was so wide, right? Where like Shade of Medivh, you fucking make one slight move and it wipes the entire group, right? And it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was almost
Was that
like
what you were doing when we were hosting a raid and then Calder had to come up and be like, hey, listen, they weren't expecting Upper Karazhan to take this long, but they're going to be coming. But I saw you guys down there for like an hour running a key. Was that Upper Karazhan that you guys were running?
That wasn't even that
you,
bad.
Mare?
No,
it
because
wasn't?
that was this week.
Oh,
and
okay.
this week, like, they have considerably nerfed those dungeons, I should say.
Oh, they did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they did
okay.
some
I didn't
tuning.
know that. Oh, okay. So it makes sense. So they were just like, oof, let's dial it down a bit. We're wiping groups and pugs, man. Fucking, damn. Wow. Okay, so that was Upper Karazhan. And
So
then
which one's
Frosty.
upper, Frosty? Like, which bosses was that?
Upper's the one where you end up on the top of the ship and the giant eyeball fights you.
Okay, yeah.
That's, I forgot the names. I think it's, so you have like the curator.
Just call it a Beholder. Make me proud.
You have pretty much Shade of Medivh, Mana Devourer, and Vizdoom the Watcher are the bosses of that one. Yeah, so that's
right.
I like the now I'm calling it the Beholder. The Beholder one. You're running down the ship and you have to like quick get into the like safe zone as it launches a giant fireball down the thing. Like that it's kind of a cool fight. It's just very long.
And those dungeons are just so unique. I thought the graphics and the rooms were so cool in Karazhan. So I've never been in Karazhan before. I've never played these dungeons in Legion or previously when it was a raid. So it was a very unique experience being in there, you know. Then you get shrunk down to, or that's in lower maybe, where you get shrunk down to the smaller size, and then the rats are like bigger than you, and then you go big again. It's very unique.
Yeah, those graphics are kind of cool. Like I was wondering how well they would even hold up against like some of the newer stuff, and I'm not sure if they actually redid any of them, because it looked like it was still the old models and stuff for like at least for Grimrail and Karazhan. Like I don't think they actually updated it, but it felt,
as far as I'm aware of, yes, they are all that. There is no adjustments. Just the affixes were the only thing that were placed in. I can't wait to get into the rating stuff, because there's a few things that I was a little annoyed about in the rating stuff that they backtracked on, which I will get to and when we get to that topic. But as far as I'm aware of with the dungeons, from what I read, they didn't make any adjustments. They didn't do any changes. Just they threw the affix on top of it and said, boom, there you go. So.
Well, also I think there was 3 people from Blizzard working on this season. Everyone else is working on Dragonflight.
They had to do the big old copy paste and
oh goddamn! I am so excited for Dragonflight.
It has been very refreshing getting new dungeons, experiencing new ones. I really like the Warlords dungeons. They're fairly short, and the bosses are all like the mechanics are punishing if you don't do them, but they're not like excessive or have like a million things going on, like it seems like in Karazhan sometimes. So those ones I really like. Karazhan, like I said, I like the rooms and stuff. I think the boss mechanics are very unique and interesting. And maybe once they're fully tuned out, I'll enjoy it a lot more.
So I'm actually excited for everybody listening right now. We just discussed it, and this is something that we kind of just on the fly. We're like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's give our listeners something else visually to see. So I think what we're gonna do, maybe not today. I would love to actually right after this, but jump in a dungeon together, and then I'll record it and I'll post it up with us as my first experience, and then running with Frosty and Win, experiencing these dungeons and these affixes for the first time since I've been doing nothing but raid leading and teaching raids and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to jump in this and experience everything that you're telling me about, the horrifying, terrible freaking affix that has now been applied. And it's not probably that bad, but it's, I'm hearing not only from the two of you, I've heard it from the community as well, that it has no effect.
Horrible. I would call it almost non-existent.
Lackluster?
Like what
Yeah.
Frosty said before.
Yeah.
Barely
Frosty
noticeable.
hit the nail on the head. Yeah. I've been hearing it from several people. I believe Elm was one of the first people I heard from telling me about it. He was just like, yeah, I love Elm. Elm is just so like, just the ultimate chill. Just like, really not much. There's really nothing to it. Like, it just doesn't deliver.
If they had made it that in some way it like, snapped on at some point, like if you noticed it go from 0 to 30 or something, then it would feel good. But since you're going like one at a time, you really don't notice.
Yeah, it would even be cool that the more buffs you get, maybe the ads scale up a little bit. So like, you get to experience this, increase in haste or versatility, and maybe up it so much that if it, maybe up something like add an extra effect on the ads or something like that, or make an affix, happen a little bit more. They need to do something to give it a little bit more pizzazz. But is there anything else that you guys would like to cover before we jump to the rating with just dungeons, any dungeon content, specific bosses? I mean, was there a favorite dungeon that you guys like that you didn't expect from the new content that you were like, I loved, Grimrail or whatever it is?
I don't know. Are we done complaining?
Yeah, pretty much just complaints. I think I was happy about Mechagon. I'll say I like Mechagon dungeons, both of them. So that was kind of fun. But other than that, I'm not as excited about Mythic Plus this season.
All right. Win for you, same.
Yeah, it's like I said, refreshing to do new content, but could have been better.
Yeah. I think that hits the nail on the head. Alrighty, well, we'll take off, and we're gonna get into the juicy stuff now. I'm super excited. I'm just gonna just buy my plus. We'll get to you another time. All right. So as we said, we've hit Fated. It's already been a week. So as we talked about in the last episode, every week they're going to be shifting the Fated raid from Castle Nathria to Sanctum Domination, Sepulcher, and then they're just going to keep doing that over and over. Every week they're just going to shift it one up and then restart the cycle again. So we'll talk a little bit about Castle Nathria and the Fated powers that happened with it. I am excited to jump into this because, first of all, Castle Nathria, baby. Castle Nathria. Oh my God. So as a community, I was so proud and so happy. We got, in 2 days, we got all of normal Castle Nathria done. They even got to see Sire Daddy die. Woohoo! That was fun. I do got to bring up a little quick side note. You know how many people had that weaker that every time you get blood priced lifted in the air, choke me Sire Daddy popped up on my screen?
I missed that.
We had a full raid, 30 people, because there were just so, like, even this week we had a full raid of 30 people. We actually struggled to get people in, just to make room for people. But when we got lifted up in the air, every single person choked me Sire Daddy, ooh woo, and I'm just like, oh my God, I forgot all about that. Oh my God, there's so many.
Yeah, you can't see your ground effects because it's all like say bubbles.
And I can't tell you how many times approaching a boss, I'm explaining the mechanics. All right, guys, this is a lot of your new first time. This is what you need to know. Totally forgetting the fucking Fated affix, and I think it was Hungering Destroyer was a great example of forgetting completely until 10%. And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, there's a Fated affix out there we're supposed to be dealing with. We still got it down. It was actually surprisingly, it was still difficult, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Lady Enerva, I'm just going to say it right off the bat, that was probably one of the hardest fights still. Still, Lady Enerva, it was a bitch. Oh my God, that was nightmare. But before we go into this,
falls right in line with the memories.
Let's talk a little bit about the affixes, because last week I brought them up. We didn't go into them, but this week I would like to kind of go into them and then kind of get your take, Frosty and Win, on each one, how you felt about it, if you recall any fights that did include it. So I'm looking at Chaotic Essence. Some of the Chaotic Essence was chaotic. What?
Before we talk about them specifically, I just wanted to say that I feel like they could have just brought back the raids, not done any affixes, and everyone would have been happy. They would have been just fine.
It would have been better almost.
Yeah. Like,
I agree.
The affixes weren't needed.
Well, I'm going to get into that in a second as a raid leader. And I'm going to snap because I told you guys that before we even had this talk and we're doing this recording, I vented, and I will vent out loud for all of you. I will not use any specific names, but I'm going to vent, and I will get into that about why I'm pissed off about certain fated powers. And Win, I agree. They could have. They absolutely could have. I think that maybe the 3 people that were in the dev team for this were like, you know what, though, let's add something new. When you don't need to, you could just bring it back, make it more difficult, cycle it. Giving 1 week is great, because by the time you get back to it, it's tough as someone that's coming from a community where we're teaching people and giving people a place to come play, progress at their own pace. It's tough. It's tough to not only teach them mechanics that they weren't around for, but also additional effects. And on Heroic, when we did Heroic, with all the extra effects and then these fated powers, what we call the elitist or the more mechanically inclined players can perform. Other players are coming just to have a little fun. Heroic was just enough of a difficulty, especially certain fights like in Heroic, like Lady Nerva or Soul Render, you know?
Well, and the affixes
these extra
are
affixes
intended to actually help you in a way, right? They help you do more damage. They give you speed.
If you do it right, there is still a mechanic to it, though.
Correct.
You know,
it's like an additional mechanic, but it's a kiss curse, right?
So, is this a good time to kind of give a few examples? Like we can go through them a little bit, because I can reference every single fight and give perfect examples and probably trigger a few memories for all of you guys. I think that Chaotic Essence, if I remember correctly, this is the one where it has, yes, it is. Instead of just reading it word for word, I'm just going to say exactly what happens in the middle of it. An orb spawns, and when the orb spawns, it spawns 2 motes. The motes, you don't focus the actual orb itself. And if you're listening right now, please listen, because this was a problem that we had, that once when we specifically said this out loud, people were like, oh, there's a mote that is targetable. But then there's even smaller motes next to it. Or I should say Saphir and then motes. Each time you kill a mote, more motes spawn. So it goes 2, then like 4, then 8, then a bunch of them. And what you want to do is you want to kill as many as the little motes as possible. And each one that you do increases your damage done, healing done, absorbs done for 15 seconds to all players. And I'm going to use a reference from this week, actually, is the Eye. The Eye of Domination, I think it's called, where everybody piles up, the chain grab comes out. Well, the heroic mechanic is that everybody gets chain grabbed, gets pulled towards the edge, and that ad comes down. Every single time on the dot, that's when that mote would spawn, and you'd right-click it, and a bunch of little ads would come down, and you want to burst them down as quickly as possible. That was tough, having that ad and then all those little ads. Yes, AoE burst them, but doing that and then having that eye beam go across the entire level, timing it right, that was pretty difficult. For not for everybody, but for quite a few people, a lot of people were very overwhelmed by the amount of motes that were out, plus that ad, plus the eyeball. It was pretty overwhelming. Although, well, here, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really interesting that you found that one to be a problem. I'd say because that one was the one that I found the most ignorable of all of them. In that, like, I would just click it and then it would spawn the motes, but they would just instantly disappear. Like we would just delete them. And
yeah,
so I never
noticed
even noticed
that.
It really.
Yeah, trying to coordinate people. It's like you tell people to do something, but when you're dodging the fractured soul. You're making sure to watch out for, that soak and get in on it and you're getting pulled in. We also did have 30 people there and everybody was everywhere. I think people just got a little overwhelmed and couldn't really pinpoint, okay, like, what am I targeting? What am I doing? And I'm like, right here, I put a marker right on it. I was like, just drop all of your AoEs right here. Rain of Fire for your Warlocks, Spread Shot, or whatever you got. Me, I used my Epidemic and just, burst kind of thing.
The good thing with that one is, though, as long as you interact with it and make it targetable, it doesn't explode on the raid. So the worst that can happen, as long as you interact with it, is just that you don't get a benefit from it, right?
Yeah.
But I can see how it would panic people that maybe haven't seen it before or that fight before and don't know how to respond.
It panicked people because if you burst it, though, it just makes more motes spawn. Like, you don't just burst it and they disappear. Yeah, no, dude, it is. It's just like, oh my God. It's crazy.
Cybox with that, I was doing 40K on my Survival Hunter, like 40K DPS. It was awesome. Too. So
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, Sire, though, that wasn't that was me. I loved it.
It was great. You got the motes
God.
and Echoes of Sin at the same time, and you just pat it.
And
like
it was grippable too. So we would just grip it on top of the ads and just burst. Boom, boom, done. Like the motes, as soon as you make it targetable, before you target the motes, you just grip it. And then it was just so well timed. Me and Slayer is a new tank for the progression team, and he's really on top of it. He's a Death Knight as well. And me and him were synergizing. He would death grab, I would death grab, and then I would just do Graspy Arms, pull them all in, and we just nuke them. Dude, Graspy Arms for this power.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's
like
so
basically
good.
on like a fight like Sludge Fist, you really actually need it because you end up too far away to even like do it at all, and no one can even run over because you're all chained, right? So it's really difficult to do it right without a grip.
I agree. But yeah, so for everybody listening, once again, a mote, you click on it to make it active. It's a Sephir or Sephiral. And then it spawns motes. Those motes, the more you kill, the more that spawn. That's actually a good thing. You want as many to spawn as possible. And then I think it's actually like after 15 seconds, depending on how many you got out, that's how the effect. So if you can really burst it, that's just juicy, especially for like Sludge Fist. I didn't recall that was the one in Sludge Fist, but you were correct. Especially if you could time it for when he hits the pillar. And then if you get that 100% damage increase. Oh my God. I can only imagine. All right, this next one I'm excited to talk about. Creation Spark.
Oh, fuck this one.
Okay, fuck this one on Lady Enerva, because I'm just going to get to it. All right, so guys, before we get into, our experiences with it, it targets, from all I've seen so far, it always targets 2 people. Has it been more than that? Someone correct me, one of you two. Have you seen it target more than 2?
I haven't played Healer yet, so I don't know, or else I would see the...
Remember,
it's always 2.
Don't take...
Is it?
Don't take us factual. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's always 2. When you dispel, I've only ever seen it always do 3. It does some 3 little tiny circles that you have to soak. Multiple people can stand in the same circle. It doesn't have to be just one. Multiple people can stand in it. If you go into it, it increases the flow of time by increasing your attack speed, casting speed, cooldown recharge rate, and periodic tick rates, and additionally increasing your movement by 45% for 20 seconds. And it says this affects stacks.
So when there's more puddles, does that mean that's a mass dispel and both are getting dispelled?
If there are 6, then yeah, they both got dispelled at the same time.
Okay.
Yes. Which, if you time it correctly, you can do one, then the other, and it says this affects stacks. So you can stack the buffs.
So you can do
one.
You would want to do one at a time.
I didn't. I'm going to be honest with everybody. This is me admitting my faults. I just realized right now that that 3 words, this affects stacks, I did not see until just now. So now I have to make adjustments for the future. I didn't know that. If the Creation Spark hits the ground and inflicts, it says 10 cosmic damage every 2 seconds for 20 seconds, but you guys understand. It just adjusts accordingly to the damage of the raid, instance, whatever it is. Now, I'm going to use a great example. Lady Enerva. Oh, boy.
Where you're already trying to soak a bunch of things.
Exactly. I can't tell you. I had to tell Gradius because Gradius was doing his job, due diligence. Great job, Gradius. Dispel. Hey, guys, it's out. Dispel, like right off the bat. Every time he was dispelling it, when it came out, I didn't realize until we had a few fuck-ups that every time it's coming out, it comes out like it's like perfect timing, exactly when the vials are going to be coming out. So the rule of thumb that we came up with was do not dispel until the vials are, the second they're done being soaked, we can do it. Like the connecting the dots, the add drops, like that's fine as long as we don't do it during the vial soaks. Because what we were doing is we approached this fight, we would dispel it every time, and then there would be literally 3 vial soaks and then 6 of these creation sparks because mass dispel. So we had 9 soaks. So the entire raid, I've never seen so many people losing their fucking minds. They're like, they're everywhere, fucking soak. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
And is there a max like splash distance for those? Because it's based on the person that's dispelled, right?
It is. It's around the person that is getting dispelled, but that's the problem.
Is it like 20 yards, 10?
I can't tell you exactly. All right, so it doesn't say that here. I can tell you now, just from seeing it so many times, it is a set distance around that player. So what we did was we would stack after soaking vials on top of melee with the ranged really quickly on dispel, and then they would all pop up around melee, like near melee, and then it would allow the tanks to get that buff, healers to get that buff, and all the DPS, just pretty much everybody get those buffs. And it was awesome because everybody would perfectly just spread out. Everybody would take, multiple people take one circle, everybody gets that buff, and you just see everybody running 45% quicker back into the fight. It was really cool. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed this power. This power is fun if done right.
Okay, yeah. Frosty, what's your take?
If done right. This one, I mean, yeah, it's good. Like once you get the buff, this is the one that you feel the most. But
yes.
But oh man, is it painful if we miss one thing? Like that's.
Oh yes,
it's so. This is the thing that bothers me about this one more than the rest is that this is one that relies on that you can't just like solo carry. If you're like a pug, you can't just like do the mechanic yourself and then like the rest of people can ignore it. Like the chaotic essence. Yep. If you're the person who knows if I don't click on this thing, it'll wipe the raid. You can click on the thing and it won't wipe the raid. In this one, you need 3 soaks twice, and I actually wiped the most that I wiped this past week in Nathria was on Shriekwing, the first boss of the whole thing. And it was just because no one knew what this thing was. Like no one was like, oh, it's heroic Shriekwing. We don't have to worry. We're just going to blast through this. And then we would take 30,000 damage a second of creation spark damage because no one soaked puddles. And just, I think we wiped like 10 to 15 times on Shriekwing. And then every single other boss after that was like a 1 or 2 shot. It was
Pug
like,
life problems.
I was it was just so annoying.
Oh yes. Actually, there's one more though that I feel like is the worst, but this one I could see definitely being a fucking problem.
I thought SLG was really bad. And I know, Sencard, you weren't there with us trying to do a heroic on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What was the affix for that?
The same one, the Creation Spark.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So, and I'd done it previously in the week, and we've been successful. But, yeah, definitely the timing on those is super important because, yeah, the dispels were going out right as, like, what's the second boss in that?
Stavros?
No.
You talking about
SLG.
General Grishal?
Yeah, Grishal. Right as he's doing his where you have to stutter step when the swirlies come out.
Yeah.
And then those would come out, and you're just like, no, and then of course half the raid is dead because the damage of trying to soak them and the ones that don't get soaked and taking the swirly
upheaval
and
too.
Yeah,
the
upheaval.
The blades. Oh my god. Yeah, I could see that being very overwhelming.
Blades? So I don't know if you found this, Frosty, but we found that Shrouded Blade, if it went through the raid, it was not dotting everybody.
Yeah, they patched it so it doesn't cleave anymore. It only hits the person it targets.
It literally doesn't matter where you stand.
Yeah, it's so easy now.
I'm just gonna really bitch really quick. So really quick bitch fit. On the eye, they patched it. It wasn't like this before, but they patched it where you could use the Warlock Gate to go through that beam. You couldn't do that originally. They patched it to allow it. They took away that fucking patch. So, of course, I told everybody, I was like, listen, you couldn't do that, but they patched it at the end, so you should be able to do it. I told everybody to do it. They took it. They didn't die, but they took a fuck ton of damage. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go fuck myself.
Well, but I think they did the right thing. with that. I don't think you should be able to Warlock Gate. I think that just
No, I agree.
that's
I'm just going
cheese
by experience.
that defeats the mechanic. You know.
I agree.
But yeah,
But still.
I was there. You were like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, let's not do that. I fucked up. But anyway, back to it. So that creation spark on SLG, I could see that being a fucking nightmare. All right. Let's go to the next step. What is it? Protoform barrier. Okay. So I always get these two mixed up. There's reconfiguration emitter and there's protoform barrier. Protoform barrier is the one with the two orbs.
The single shield, I think, should just be the one.
Upon removal of this barrier, it manifests one attackable enemy casting a shared absorb shield with all other enemies for 15 seconds. A second unit manifests that also can be healed. Yes.
I've never seen that second one. Literally
really?
Didn't know it existed. We just killed the one with the shield, and we didn't care about the heal.
Well, and you literally don't even have to kill that one because it shares the barrier. You can literally just keep attacking the boss, and it will kill the barrier.
Yes.
It's the most ignorable affix.
Yeah.
Well, especially with the just to fluff our stuff. Death Knight, you can bring that orb on top of the boss and cleave, and so the damage you're doing to the boss goes to the orb. The damage that you're doing to the orb is also towards the orb. So I could just death grip it, and we could just keep pulling it with us. However, this became a problem for one boss. It was the number one dungeon that when we were talking about raiding that I fucking hated was Sun King.
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
That was
really?
There was a problem where I think both of our death grips are down. I forget why.
When we were doing it on heroic, did we one-shot that?
I'm talking about normal. Because we did normal before heroic. Heroic, we one-shot. But on normal, we didn't have our death grip up. And I don't think maybe Slayer was. But anyway, all the ads were out. And we had ads out. And it was taking forever. And I mean forever to get that shade down. And I'm sitting there going, why the fuck is this taking forever? Totally forgot because it was I think literally the first day of that affix that I didn't notice that they were being shielded. So that we were just cleaving and cleaving and cleaving. I'm like, what is going on? Why are all these ads not dying? Why is the boss taking forever?
But
come to realize they were being
not matter because as long as you're hitting anything,
as long as you're hitting anything, yes. And we eventually did, but we didn't even notice it because we didn't notice that orb off to the side throwing the shield on all of them. But by the time we cleaved them and got all down, that's still extra damage that you need to do. And it's extra damage that for when you're doing a public run, that makes it just that much more difficult. It makes it last that much longer. You know, you have all of the fire puddles down everywhere. I think we had literally half of the level covered in fire puddles. I think we did do a public heroic too at some point as well with the group. And they even struggled on it. I forget why. But that barrier, as long as you just cleave the boss, cleave the ads, cleave anything, that damage is shared with the orb. You can heal one orb, or you can damage the orb itself. As I said, Death Knight, I can grab that orb. So Death Knights, if you see it, grab it and bring it in. And you can cleave that damage and burst it down. It really isn't too difficult, but having that extra barrier really can be a bitch. And if you don't destroy it, it explodes, right? If I'm correct, I believe it explodes.
Yeah, puts a dot.
I think all of them
damage.
do at some point, right? Like if you
don't
they
manage
made it. Yeah, they made it so you can't ignore it.
Yeah, if broken, this effect backfires, inflicting damage done to. Oh yeah, that was the thing though that made Sun King. If you did it right, it was supposed to make it easy. Because if you do it and you detonate it, it explodes and damages all the ads.
Literally,
and
the
it grants
ads
all players
would
increased damage.
Melt. That was my experience in Sun King. Is literally you just kill the barrier, the ads just drop dead. It was crazy.
If it expires though, it does cosmic damage as a burst, and it does a dot every second for 8 seconds. It's saying so. I think that's why we wiped, I believe, once or twice, and then once we realized it and we gripped that orb in, it was a game changer. It was a complete game changer. I think also there's vials that dropped that increase healing done, and you could just nuke the one orb and heal it in 2 seconds. Like once when that was realized, that was easy peasy lemon squeezy. I don't remember that being on anything else except I think it was hungering. And I think that's why we didn't realize when I was joking before in the beginning when we were talking about like when I did hungering, I totally didn't remember the fated. It was that one. I believe.
That
which
one's
is why
on
we were just like,
Council
right?
2, I think.
Council Blood?
Or is that
No,
emitter?
That was
That's
the
emitter.
I think
reconfiguration
it's
emitter.
emitter.
Yeah,
Huntsman
okay.
and Council had the interrupt one.
Okay.
So that the reconfiguration emitter is just the one where you have to interrupt it consistently while you're nuking it down. If you don't and it gets off, it does that like giant just burst damage, right? Is that the reconfiguration emitter?
Yeah, it's the interrupt one. That like gives you a better power if you leave it up longer.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, it stacks itself up over time, so you want to interrupt it as late as possible to kill it the first time.
Oh.
wait, the later the better?
Yeah, the later the better, because it every 5 seconds it increases the stack of how much buff it's going to give you when it does finally die. So that first one, when it's immune, you just let it go as long as it can, and then you interrupt it, and then you kill it quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah, we would just death grip it in. We would interrupt it generally like 1/3 of the way through. We didn't like give it a chance. That's actually interesting to realize. I thought the way that I understood is that the more times you interrupt it, the more damage that it's going to give, or the bigger the buff. So I misread that. That's actually that changes things now. That's good to understand.
Yeah, it's just every 5 seconds. It doesn't matter how many times you interrupt.
We did miss one interrupt, and it hurt like a bitch when that thing went off too. Oh boy. All right. So now that we've gone over, those are the 4 powers. Just really quickly to re-summarize them. You have your Chaotic Essence, which is the one with the motes. Just kill the motes. Creation Spark. You healers dispel a player, and then 3 soaks appear. 6 altogether because there's going to be 2 different dispels. Protoform Barrier, 2 orbs spawn, 1 can be healed, 1 can be damaged, or you just damage the boss, damage the ads, damage whatever. As long as you do that, you'll be just fine. And then Reconfiguration Emitter, you have to right click on it, just like I don't think you have to right click except for Chaotic Essence. Chaotic Essence and Reconfiguration Emitter, I think you have to right click on both. Or no, Reconfiguration Emitter as soon as it comes out.
Interrupt,
yeah, that's just a chaotic. Yeah, Reconfiguration Emitter, you just have to interrupt. As Frosty said, the later it goes and the later you let it run, and then you interrupt it, the better the buff, and then you just nuke it down. Out of all 4 of these, which one do you think? Like, which one do you like? I like that moat one. The moat one, I think, is pretty juicy. Creation Spark was pretty good too, though.
I like padding damage on motes.
I like the motes the best.
I like the motes.
Except on Sludge Fist. It's kind of annoying on Sludge Fist, but...
Yeah. Oh God, graspy arms, slappy hands. I love it. Yeah, but anyway, with that being said, though, what did you guys just think in general, though, with everything? As you said before, when I kind of want to touch a little bit back on this really quick, though. You said that you feel that we could have approached this entire raid rotation without these faded powers, but with these faded powers, though, are you still enjoying yourself? And Frosty as well, I want to hear from you. Like, what do you think with Castle Nathria and Sanctum, because we are in Sanctum, so I want to hear about both. What do you guys feel?
Well, I just love Castle Nathria, so that was really fun to go back in and be able to, like, re-prog. Not really prog, because they feel so much easier now.
Yeah, normal was a joke, I felt like. What do you guys, like...
Oh, yeah.
I felt normal was a walk in the park.
I thought heroic was a joke.
Even heroic. Like, and I think that was intentional on Blizzard's part, right? Like, if you use the affixes correctly, it's just a matter of getting through the raid, loot pinata, which is good. I think that's what we wanted. It's really fun. Everyone feels good about it. And yeah, it's my thoughts.
We needed that. Like, as a community, like, this is I was very worried about this, that it was going to be too convoluted, too difficult, too much. And then I was very happily surprised by walking into this and seeing how manageable it really was with these powers and how doable it was. Like, with how much of the eye level increase there was, I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to go in heroic. We still should get gear from normal to make up for the eye level difference, but I mean, it was doable. Even we had some people at 265 that were managing just fine going to even heroic. Like, it was pretty manageable, a lot of fun. I love Castle Nathria. Like I said, we absolutely spanked normal. Even heroic was pretty much a walk in the park. Frosty, how did you feel?
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I love Casa Nathria, so yeah. Again,
yeah,
didn't
dude.
matter at all about the affixes. Nathrya's a great time. The music's great. The boss fights are great. Even Sanctum, I'm excited for some of them. I mean, like I like Painsmith. I always enjoyed that one. I might go switch back to Night Fae just so I can cheese the orbs and not have to do mechanics. But yeah, it's those have all been kind of fun. I'm curious. What do you think of this idea as a suggestion to Blizzard? What if you just took all of these affixes and put them in Mythic Plus instead? And then you don't have them in the raids, and then all of the packs in Mythic Plus keys, you have one of these things to deal with, or like every so often. Like I'm
about it. I think, yeah. I mean, I'm not a plus, but if I were to do a plus and this was involved, yeah, absolutely. Because you're not dealing with an entire raid, you're dealing with 4 other people. Like,
and you can't.
I mean, the only one that I could see is Creation Spark instead of maybe 3 soaks to just 1. You know what I'm saying? Because there's only 5 of you. 1 person needs a tank. There's 1 person healing. That maybe 2. But like besides that, yeah, Actually, Frosty, we need to get.
Should I talk to Blizzard Game Design right now? Or?
Yeah, I think you guys accidentally dragged that bat file into the wrong folder. I'm just saying.
I should have the stat buff on the raid because then we don't care.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Win, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what I think. Because it's all of it largely also depends on like the tuning of how much damage they do versus how much of a benefit they give you, right? It's all based on that aspect. I feel like if they gave you an affix every pack, it would be very, very small.
Well, no, just for an entire dungeon, like Creation Spark for an entire dungeon, or you know what I'm saying,
maybe
or
just on
Protoform
bosses
Barrier.
even.
Or just like this boss. Okay, what affix does just the boss have? You know, not every
at the same rate as the like what encrypted mobs were. Like they were every few packs, right?
I actually like that with just the boss because then if you, as Win said, I'm going to use your Win's words. You do the mechanic correctly on that boss in that mythic dungeon. You do the mechanic correctly, you get rewarded, and then thus you don't have to worry about doing a pack prior. You don't have to worry about getting percentages to make an ad come out prideful. You know your affix, you're approaching that boss, okay, this is the affix, and then once you get up to that boss and you do that affix correctly, boom, you get 15 seconds worth of, whatever it is. I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want it just on bosses because there are fortified weeks where you'd still want to do sizable trash pulls and have, something to benefit
buffs
you
and
during
stuff.
that pull.
Yeah. I could see, okay. But Frosty, I still think you're onto something there. Because then, I'm telling you now, like I said, though, like, it's manageable. For the majority of people, yeah, it's manageable. But there are a lot of people that play this casually. And, like, play it. When I say casually, I don't mean, like, here and there once a week. Like, no, they play it a little bit more, but they're not as hardcore as we are. And they struggle with all the mechanics and this additional power. But generally, though, the majority of the raid can make up and, pick up the reins, pick up the handicap. Hey, I got you. I will tell you what, though. Some of these mechanics, though, and some of these raids, holy shit, though. It's just a blatant disregard for this. You know what it is? It's the lack of respect for this the fated powers in some of these fights that people just don't care. It's like, dude.
Well, we're also in the second week, right? I feel like in week 4, 5, 6.
I could bitch about this in every week, to be honest with you. Like, there's always going to be, a struggle bus every now and then with raiding and just not doing mechanics. That comes with any raid in any fight. It's just this fated affix, though. I feel like that little extra is just like ugh to some people. I'm reading really quickly though. Oh, that's right. Sanctum Domination, though. I want to jump into really quick. So we've talked about Casa Nathria. With Sanctum, the 9. I just wanted to bitch about this. The 9. With Creation Spark, Frosty. That's the one where you dispel.
One, yep.
And you have your Fragments of Destiny. You also have on Heroic the Linked Essence. And then on top of that, you have Skyja's 6 different abilities. And then you have this Dispel. Like, adding that Dispel on top of it, like, it's great. Like, don't get me wrong, because you get that speed buff, that damage buff, and everything. But just with all those mechanics and that Dispel, that was pretty overwhelming for a lot of people because I'm explaining, like, okay, don't forget, get your shards off to the side. And then someone with someone that had the Creation Spark also got the Fragment of Destiny. So do you understand where I'm going with this now? Walk off to the side.
And you dispel.
Yeah, and then you don't, like, it was just one of those things where it's just like, what do we do? Like, all right, dispel it. Some people, I guess, go over there and wait, like, but you can't get too close because you don't want to get that shard, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, oh, God, that raged me. That was one of those things I'm trying to say, like, with this Fated Power, that was something like, it's just certain bosses shouldn't have certain Fated Powers, and that was one of them, where I was like, you're specifically putting a dispellable power in a fight where there is a dispellable mechanic. You see what I'm getting at? That because that happened more than once. That wasn't just a one and done kind of thing. And then dealing with that, there was a lot of callouts. There was a lot of overtalk, crosstalk, and like I'm trying to tell people, hey, you don't soak. Blah blah blah, and Grady's is like blah blah blah. You have fragments. Get off to the left. We're gonna dispel you. And the person's like, but I have Creation Spark, and he's like, okay, just wait to get dispelled. No, but I also have the shard. And then while that's happening, we have people calling out like, oh, Aegis is out. Get to the side with the tanks, and then move to the side. Oh God, yeah, it was just
yeah. I do think they're definitely being very specific about where they put that one though. Like I know those are bad, but it could be so much worse. Like imagine having a dispel mechanic on Remnant of Ner'zhul.
No.
You're the one who has the giant bomb detonation. And
everyone's
knocked
gone.
away. So the circles are just over there and you're like yeeted to the other side of the raid. Like that would be awful.
Jeez.
Or like,
Yeah.
or
so
on
bad.
Sylvanas, that would be terrible too. Like there's all these other puddles that you're not supposed to pick up and you have to dispel to get the stuff off you in phase 3. Like, these are probably two of the ones that it's on Guardian and the 9 are probably two of the less painful for needing to soak a specific spot. So hopefully it stays there.
in my mind, I hope that there are certain powers that they're just like.
Do they rotate among the bosses?
God, I hope not. Not per
once
week,
when they're
maybe.
For that week.
No, I mean
for the week, whatever they have is what they have.
But like next
But,
time
like-
it comes back to Sanctum.
Yeah, next time. Is
Will
it the
it be-
same?
No idea. It better be, because they're gonna. If like perfect example, I'm just gonna say this perfect example for Sylvanas, as you were saying, that if they have that dispellable thing and you got all those circles down, people aren't gonna do it, or like a majority of the average raiders aren't just gonna do it because it's gonna be too much. Like people are not gonna pug you in, or you got to be on top of your money. It's gonna be a pug killer, and I hope that they are being mindful of these certain mechanics, because I'm going to tell you what, like I said, the 9, that pissed me off. That just pissed me off that it was a dispellable mechanic on top of a person with that. I was like, dude, seriously? Like, maybe it was just happen chance for the few times that it happened, but I was just like, come on, man. Like, I would have taken anything else. Get me the moat. Get me the barrier. I would have been fine with the barrier. Get me the fucking reconfiguration mirror. Like, anything else other than that. I was just, like, so raged over that. But, yeah, no, I think that so far, though, these mechanics have been fun, though. I know I'm raging. I'm just talking about the offset chances every now and then. But I have enjoyed so far both raids, both Castle Nathria, Sanctum Domination. I am enjoying it. I'm, like I said, have not gotten to try M+. I am excited to jump into that. With the raids, though, Frosty, I would love that idea. And when, as you were saying as well, maybe I wish that they would allow us to just raid without those Fated Powers, put Fated Powers in M+.
Well, you
Don't give
can
it to
raid
them.
without the Fated Powers on, but then you don't get the benefits, right? You don't get the gear.
Yes. Yep. And I want to do it at the current difficulty without those Fated Powers too. I will say though, I just realized like a day ago that when we were running, I was talking with Slayer. There's a weapon, and maybe we can end the episode talking about this gear that we want. And I really want Jathi's Blade again, and I need to run Sanctum and try to get it. Like,
Which boss drops that?
Was it Surrender? Now I'm forgetting. I'm gonna
Surrender
Google it right
drops Vein Ripper. Really
I
want
thought
that
was
Vein Ripper.
Painsmith gets
Oh, sorry.
Vein Ripper.
Yes, Painsmith.
Yeah, because I know I have to do
Painsmith.
Painsmith every week multiple times
Yes.
to try to get 2 of those.
Multiple times, like you're gonna do it on
On each difficulty.
normal.
Yeah, because then
Or,
maybe
like-
if I get it, I can upgrade it with the tokens.
Yeah.
Because you're still meaning your Havoc, right? So we both want that.
Yeah. Well, even on survival, I wonder. No, I use staffs on survival.
Oh, yeah. I did luck into one of the Mechagon weapons, though, the salvaged incendiary tool. So that was just like as a drop from the dungeon. So at least I have one of those, but I do need that Painsmith weapon.
Gavel.
Of course, gavel.
Yeah, no, I was looking at gavel, but I'm also trying to think of what Jathy. I believe it's called Jathy's. I don't know how to spell it, so I'm like trying to figure out who drops it.
I have to say, I'm not really looking forward to Sepulchre week just because it's so recent. It's like whatever.
Yeah, we just did it, right?
Yeah, we
Why
just
do it
did
again?
it.
I don't want to keep farming Zymox again on Sepulchre to get that trinket.
Well, and literally, if it wasn't for the fact that Blizzard kind of forces you to do the raid because of the the ciphers, I totally would not raid that week.
Yeah. I mean, I have to run them, of course, but like Sanctum is, I mean, just definitely one of those raids though that nobody wants to run. But even Sepulchre, I'm also hearing some people being like, meh. Everybody wants to do Castle Nathria.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to run Castle Nathria. Oh, I don't think we mentioned this yet. For everybody's knowledge, I totally forgot to bring this up, and this is very important. You can still convert gear. You can still take your gear.
Yeah.
Go to Zareth Mortis, and take it and convert it. So if you get raid gear and you're not happy with it, whatever it is, that eye level, take it, go to Zareth Mortis. And if you're just listening and you're still, you're brand new and you're just getting into this new season, go to Zareth Mortis, do your storyline. You can take gear there. And I think they add up every week. You get one per week since,
at this point, everyone has so many. It's not even an issue.
You should be fine. Yeah, but take your gear there and then convert it.
No, it's really the best because even things that aren't necessarily tier, like I've been trying to reduce my amount of mastery on my DH that I have, right? So it's nice because if I get a piece of gear that doesn't have mastery, then I leave it. But if it, if it does
if it does, you take it over there and convert it.
Yeah, like it's
very nice.
That gives you more options instead of having to like farm that specific piece of loot, that one pair of shoulders that doesn't have mastery on it. Things like that.
Yeah. Which also, in a way, kind of takes the value away from that raid. If you think about it, though, because you're running 2 other raids and you're just kind of converting.
But it doesn't because the gear drops are so RNG and like so.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You can spend an entire season trying to get gear, the specific BIS gear, and still not get it. Right? Be fully geared,
Vault
right?
Now? Exactly. Yeah. No.
But
absolutely.
Your stats are kind of like completely fucked.
Although, also another quick tip, just because I keep remembering these, you can use your skips now too. So if whatever skips you unlocked back in the day, you can use them for these dungeons, the Fated. So if you did heroic and you got your heroic skip, you can use Fated heroic skip and go straight. If you wanted to, you could go straight in, kill Shriek, and go jump over to Sledge, summon him out. So that's another thing I just realized.
Which actually, Sen, I need to talk to you about doing that on Fridays. Doing the skips and then clearing the rest of the raid so that if we don't get everything done, the Sunday day doesn't matter it's not quite as important.
We'll talk about that. I'm definitely down for that. I'm 1,000% on board. That actually sounds wonderful. Maybe not this week we'll do it. It's Sylvanas. That fight's so long. That's a 2 lust fight, right? You can lust in the beginning and lust.
Yeah, if you lust right at the start.
Yes, but then we get to skip Fate Scribe. So.
Yep.
And
and we get to get no. I'm on board. KT, that's the weapon. That's where my weapon drops. Yeah, totally on board. Let's do it. I need that weapon.
And the gear, right? The last 2 bosses, the gear is higher level, right? So it's just there's so many benefits to doing that.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, Win has a great point. We're doing right now just for the first 3 weeks because raid leading, public, just hosting these public raids takes up a lot of time. Running 2 public raids in the progression run. So right now we're only doing 1 progression day, but we want to do 2. We eventually will be, but Win just bringing this up because we only get 3 hours to do progression time and making it the last end bosses into the beginning, as she was just saying. First of all, pretty much for majority that it's just better gear, but on top of that, higher eye level gear, and it's just getting that dungeon done and completed. And I believe too, for everybody's knowledge that's listening, if you complete every raid minimum on normal, Now, that doesn't mean you have to kill every boss. To my knowledge, please correct me, Frosty and Win. Just as long as you kill the final boss, I believe. If you've killed the final boss for all 3 raids on normal minimum, you get, what is that mount called?
I think you have to clear the whole raid.
You do have to clear. All right.
Yeah.
Well, just assume that you've cleared the whole raid. If you clear every raid on normal, you get a mount. So if you're looking for a goal, a goal to achieve, and you're not a MUP Plus player, you're a raid player, you can go jump in, clear normal on every single raid when they come out, and then you get, I think it's like Bigglesworth or something like that. It's the Bigglesworth mount.
Yeah, something like that.
But anyway, yeah. So that gives everybody a little bit of a goal to hit. With that being said, though, just to kind of give a little quick wrap up, though. So with Fated Powers, we had the Shrouded, Frosty and Wayne, as you said. A little bit of disappointment, a little bit of grief. I wish that it had a little bit more of an effect.
It should be a little less shrouded, if anything.
Less shrouded, yeah. Plus Nerf cares that more.
Please. Well, didn't you say that they nerfed, or was it?
Yeah, it probably still needs to be more.
Probably more.
Sorry, not nerf, tune.
Tune. Very well put. And then with that being said, though, we have the Shrouded Powers. The Shrouded Powers being like just stacks on haste, verse, mastery, crit, managing those. Come on, Blizzard, get on top of it. And then with the Fated raids, just going to really quickly re-summarize. You got Castle Nathria, Sanctum of Domination, and then Sepulcher. Once in the 4th week hits, it's going to go back to Castle Nathria. When we get to our next episode and we discuss about it, hopefully by that point we'll see if they're changing the powers or if they're going to remain stagnant on each of the bosses. I'm pretty sure they're going to change. They got to, just to keep it, different, unique, a new experience. And then
I don't know. What Frosty said had a lot of merit with the whole thing of intentionally avoiding certain bosses with certain
I hope so.
Yes.
I really hope so.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean, like I said, I totally understand that. Like I said, if you get Lady Nerva just stuck in my head. You get Sylvanas, and you get that one Dispel, or there are going to be certain ones that are just not going to pair well. They're going to be skippable. Frosty, you mentioned something too. Now I'm having a brain fart. Crap, what was it about the coins being able to spend them? You have to wait a minimum 3 weeks.
Yeah, you need, because it's so it's 3 weeks to be able to purchase any item that you want, and it's 2 weeks to collect enough of the upgrade token. So those are 2 different things.
Okay, and for everybody to understand, when you kill a boss, I believe you only get one.
You get one
for
per
each boss
Fated
you kill.
heroic boss.
Okay, so you're gonna get that coin, and you have to get 20 of them. You can combine it, and when you combine it, you get to spend it on any piece of gear that's LFR or raid gear to convert it to a heroic tier level gear. Once when that happens, I think that...
So what you're saying is I need to be running LFR on Paintsmith.
Yes, farm Paintsmith on LFR and on normal and on heroic.
And then just save your... So that's going to be huge. Purchasing gear. Oh, and a reminder, everybody, before we get on out of here, do not spend your coins as soon as you get them. I'm saying it again, and I'm going to keep reiterating myself, because once you spend it, you only get 3 of them. You only get 3. So once you spend them, that's it. Make sure you're buying what you need. Gavel. Anyway. But when you make sure that you buy what you need. But as for the bosses, though, as long as you farm them, you're getting your bosses knocked down, you get 20 of them, combine them, make sure you are upgrading that juicy piece of gear that you need. So as Wayne was just saying, go run LFR, go get that fucking item, save up that heroic tier upgrade, and then dump it right in on that. What are you looking to get off? What was it?
Vein Ripper. Cruciform Vein Ripper.
Okay.
It's a fist weapon.
Gotcha.
You got to be standing behind the boss, and it does damage.
Oh, it bleeds him.
I forget exactly.
I believe
it
bleeds him too. Yeah, someone was bringing... Actually, it's so ironic that you bring it up. People were saying that during the raid, that they're like, oh, I can't wait to go and get that again. So yeah, everybody. So like I said, just summarizing, keep your coins, be mindful how you spend them. And on top of that too, get those heroic kills down, collect those coins, and then look for that piece of gear that you want to upgrade. I think, though, that we've covered everything in terms of Fated Powers. So as we move forward, and with those Fated Powers, I'm really looking to see how it's going to affect certain bosses in Sepulcher. So we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, is there anything else that you want to address before we go? Anything else that we missed?
I think we did a pretty good covering.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
Stay frosty.
Keep winning.
Send it.